What if I told you the most powerful way to make a man chase you is by doing absolutely nothing? Not texting him, not watching his stories, not checking in, not reaching out. Just nothing. It sounds contradictory, doesn't it? That love, something we associate with presence, attention, and giving, can actually grow in absence. But that's where Carl Jung's timeless teachings come in. Jung taught us that our relationships often reflect unconscious dynamics. We project our desires, wounds, and fears onto others. When we constantly give, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, we're not always loving. Sometimes, we're unconsciously seeking validation. And that is the trap. We give our light away, hoping it will be reflected back. But when you withdraw your energy, when you stop feeding someone's ego, and stop handing them your attention, like it's free air, you don't just reveal their true intentions, you reclaim your power. This isn't manipulation. This isn't about playing games. This is about understanding energetic power. Because here's the truth. Most women don't become invisible because they're not good enough. They become invisible because they're always there, always reachable, always ready to respond, to explain, to prove. And in that constant availability, they lose their mystique, their scarcity, their magnetism. But when you pull your energy back, something wild happens. He starts to feel the absence of what you used to give so effortlessly. He starts to notice what's no longer there. He starts to wonder, why isn't she texting? Did I do something wrong? Is she seeing someone else? And just like that, you're no longer just a person. You're a mystery. And mystery is magnetic. Humans are wired to chase. Think of it this way. We as human beings are wired to chase what we cannot easily have. Jung once said that what we chase often represents unconscious parts of ourselves, a longing, a shadow, or a deep-rooted insecurity. When someone is unavailable, it activates a part of us that needs resolution. We crave the closure, the certainty, the validation. When you withdraw, when you become less available, you disrupt his emotional rhythm. You're no longer the source of his emotional comfort. You become a puzzle, not a solution. And puzzles, unlike answers, keep people coming back. Let's be real. Chasing a man is often born out of fear. Fear of losing him. Fear of being forgotten. Fear of not being enough. But when you stop chasing and start focusing that energy inward, on your peace, your growth, your joy, everything shifts. You stop orbiting around him. You become the sun, and he feels the gravitational pull. Scarcity creates value. Ever noticed how the least interested people seem to get the most attention? It's not because they're cold or cruel or playing hard to get. It's because they're not energetically needy. They're not waiting. They're living. And that energy, that self-contained, centered, grounded energy, it's attractive. When you're always the first to text, always available, always ready to give, you become emotionally cheap in his subconscious. He doesn't register it consciously, but he feels it. It's not that he doesn't care. It's that you've made yourself predictable. Predictability doesn't fuel desire. Uncertainty does. And so, when you pull away, you create a gap, a void, a silence. And what do humans do with voids? We fill them. We obsess over them. We try to close them. So if you've been giving and giving, and you feel unseen, unheard, unappreciated, don't yell louder. Don't try harder. Step back. Let your absence do the speaking. Projection, when we give hoping for return. Carl Jung talked about the concept of projection, how we project our inner world onto others. That often looks like this. You give love, attention, time, even your vulnerability, hoping, expecting it will come back to you. But if you're giving from fear, not from fullness, you're not actually loving. You're bargaining. And when the return doesn't come, you start doubting your worth. That's why doing nothing is so powerful. Because in that nothing, you're finally giving to yourself. You're breaking the cycle of emotional overgiving. You're no longer offering your soul in exchange for breadcrumbs. Emotional absence is a filter. Men don't always admit this, but they often enjoy being chased. Not because they're evil, not because they don't care, but because it feeds their ego. Every time you break the silence first, you reinforce his sense of control. Every quick reply, every just checking in, Every "I miss you" text is another pat on his back. But what happens when that stream of attention stops? Something deeper gets triggered. Suddenly, your absence becomes a challenge. Not because you're playing a game, but because the dynamic has shifted. He's no longer being validated. He's being confronted with himself. If his feelings were shallow, he'll fade. But if there was depth, he will come closer. That's the filter. Your absence reveals his truth. You don't have to explain your silence. This isn't about ghosting or being cruel. It's about being deliberate with your energy. You don't need to post a story just to get his attention. You don't need to craft a vague quote on Instagram hoping he'll see it. You don't need to answer every text or always be the one to initiate. Let your silence be your boundary. Let your energy go where it's reciprocated, not just received. Carl Jung believed that what remains unconscious governs our life until we make it conscious. And many women are unconsciously stuck in a pattern of giving from fear. It's time to make that pattern conscious and change it. Step into your power. So no, this isn't a trick to get him to chase you. It's a path back to yourself, to your center, to your sense of worth that doesn't depend on who calls, who texts, or who validates you. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to beg to be seen. You just have to stop trying so hard. The right person won't need to be chased. He'll feel your absence, and if he's meant for you, he'll come. Not to reclaim control, but to meet you in your power. And if he doesn't, you've still won, because you've returned to the only person who never left you, yourself. There's something that many men will never openly admit, but that countless women sense intuitively. They love being chased, not because they want deep love or lasting connection, but because being pursued feeds their ego. It makes them feel significant, wanted, desired. So every time you respond instantly, every time you break the silence first, every time you check in on him when he's gone quiet, you're not just reaching out, you're reinforcing his sense of control. You think you're reconnecting, but you're actually confirming something in his subconscious. She's still here. I still have her. And that's where Carl Jung's wisdom becomes vital. Unconscious patterns in love. Jung warned us that when we give too much of ourselves without receiving anything in return, we're not being loving, we're being unconscious. We're acting from old wounds, from patterns we've inherited or absorbed, from a place of fear, not love. Many women are trapped in these patterns without even realizing it. The fear of abandonment makes you overgive. The fear of being too much makes you shrink yourself. The fear of being forgotten makes you chase. But when you finally pull back, truly pull back, not to punish, not to manipulate, but to protect your peace, you begin to disrupt those unconscious behaviors. You begin to wake up. Why he misses the mirror, not you. Here's something uncomfortable but important to understand. Sometimes when a man says he misses you, what he's really saying is, I miss how I felt about myself when you were giving me attention. He's not always missing you. He's missing the mirror you held up for his ego. The one that made him feel important, admired, and desired. When you take that mirror away, when you stop feeding that version of him, he starts to panic. Not because he lost someone he deeply values, but because he lost his supply of validation. And that's the distinction. If he comes back only when the attention stops, ask yourself, is this love, or is this ego addiction? Carl Jung taught that we all wear personas, masks we use to interact with the world. When you're always available, you feed that mask. You validate the persona, the image, not the person. But when you withdraw your energy, something happens. The mask cracks. The illusion breaks, and he's forced to confront what lies beneath. Let silence challenge his ego. Your silence is not empty, it is loud. It is a mirror he can't escape. Suddenly, he's no longer certain of your affection. He doesn't know where he stands. He can't predict you anymore. And that uncertainty, that's like emotional withdrawal for a man used to your attention. He starts asking, did she meet someone else? Did I go too far this time? Why isn't she reacting like she used to? It shakes his foundation. It unsettles him. Because now, he's the one who feels out of control. But that's when something revealing happens. That's when your absence becomes a filter. If he disappears completely when the ego supply dries up, it was never about you to begin with. But if he starts showing up, with questions, with effort, with vulnerability, then you've struck something deeper. You've pulled back your emotional currency, and now he has to prove he can afford your presence. How to withdraw gracefully, not coldly. This is where a lot of women struggle. They hear pull back and think it means to become cold, angry or detached in a spiteful way. But power doesn't need to scream. It just needs to redirect. Here's how you reclaim your energy without cruelty. Don't reply immediately. Let him wait. Let him wonder. Don't initiate conversations. Allow space for him to reach towards you. Don't explain your silence. Not everything requires a press release. Don't post stories for his attention. That's giving energy away through the back door. Instead, turn that attention toward yourself. Do the things that fill your soul. Let your transformation speak louder than any text ever could. You're not punishing, you're protecting. It's important to clarify. You are not being rude. You're not ghosting out of spite. You're not trying to make him suffer. You're setting boundaries. Boundaries that say, I'm not available for casual inconsistency. I don't tolerate being breadcrumbed. I no longer overfunction in relationships. I choose peace over performance. You're not here to convince a man of your worth. You're here to embody it. And when you do, you shift from seeking love to attracting it. Jung said that what we fail to make conscious controls our lives, and we call it fate. But when you step back, reflect, and choose differently, you rewrite the story. Let your energy speak. You don't need to make a scene. You don't need a dramatic breakup speech. You don't even need to block him. Your energy will speak for you. When you no longer answer messages immediately, when you don't react to his crumbs of attention, when you're not trying to be chosen, you communicate something powerful. I am no longer in the business of proving myself to someone who doesn't value me. And here's the twist. That's the energy that gets noticed. That's the energy that lingers. That's the energy that stays with him long after you've gone quiet. Because a woman who can walk away quietly, who doesn't need closure, who no longer seeks validation, she leaves a mark. Not just on the man, but on the world. Let him reveal his intentions. If he starts to wonder, if he begins reaching out again, if he becomes more consistent, attentive, or even vulnerable, don't rush to fill the space. Hold it. Let him reveal why he's coming back. Is it because he misses you, your soul, your essence, your presence? Or is it because he misses control? Let him prove it with action. Let him initiate. Let him wonder. Let him show you, not just tell you. Because this isn't about getting him back. It's about getting yourself back. Your energy, your clarity, your calm. And from that centered place, you get to decide, is this still aligned with who you're becoming? Many women believe they need to talk to be heard, to explain to be understood, to justify their distance so it's not misunderstood. But Carl Jung once said, the soul expresses itself in what is not said. And when you choose silence with a man who took you for granted, you are speaking louder than you ever have before. Silence isn't emptiness, it's tension. It's mystery. It's the sound of a boundary being drawn without saying a word. When silence becomes the message. For a man used to constant access, your affection, your attention, your response, silence is an emotional alarm. He can't predict you anymore. He doesn't know where he stands. And now, instead of you living in his head, he begins to live in yours. Not because you're playing games, but because your energy has shifted. You've pulled it inward. You've stopped performing. You've stopped proving. You've stopped pleading. And when what was once taken for granted disappears without a fight, it does something more powerful than a confrontation ever could. It creates a void, and humans are wired to fill voids. Absence is the ultimate test. What you don't realize when you go silent is that your stillness triggers something profound in him. He's no longer asking if you're okay. He's asking if you're gone. He's no longer assuming your presence. He's unsure of your return. And that uncertainty, that's not cruelty. That's consequence. If he only wanted your attention, your silence will end the game. But if he valued your soul, your peace, your presence, he'll return. Not with ego, with effort. This is what Jung meant when he spoke of confronting the shadow, the part of ourselves we ignore or deny. Your silence forces him to confront his avoidance, his inconsistency, his emotional immaturity. And that discomfort, it's not about you. It's about him finally facing himself. Don't fill the space, let him try. There's a deep temptation to break the silence, to check in, to test if he misses you, to soften the distance you created. But here's the key. Don't fill the gap you created just because it feels uncomfortable. That gap is the space where clarity grows. It's where he gets to ask, where did I go wrong? Did I take her for granted? Do I actually care? Or did I just enjoy being wanted? And you sit in your stillness, not to punish, not to manipulate, but because you're choosing to receive instead of chase. Let him initiate. Let him step forward. Let him carry the weight of reconnection. That's not playing hard to get. That's allowing the truth to reveal itself. You're not here to be an option. When a man senses that your emotional energy is no longer orbiting around him, he feels it. He may not admit it. He may not understand it, but he knows something is different. Your energy no longer says, pick me. It says, I've already picked myself. And that's when something paradoxical happens. You become more attractive. Not because you're trying to be, but because you no longer need him. You've stepped out of survival mode and into self-worth mode. You're not an option. You're not a convenience. You're not a placeholder until he's ready. You are the woman who walks away when she's not seen clearly. And that kind of woman? She is unforgettable. Boundaries without words. Many people think boundaries have to be declared loudly, but the most powerful boundaries are unspoken. Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. If you don't become aware of your own worth, you'll keep attracting people who don't reflect it. So instead of telling a man what your boundary is, live it. When he texts you after disappearing for days and you don't respond, that's a boundary. When he sends a "you up" text at 1 a.m. and you don't reply, that's a boundary. When you stop accepting crumbs and start expecting consistency, that's a boundary. Not what you say, what you allow. Let him feel the shift. Men are not oblivious. They may pretend not to notice, but when a woman emotionally disconnects, they feel it. They feel it in the pause before you respond, the lack of excitement in your voice, the energy you now keep for yourself, and that unsettles the ego, because now, the man who once felt secure in your affection begins to doubt it. He starts wondering, what changed? Who is she now? Is she moving on? And even if he doesn't say it, he feels it. Because you're no longer waiting. You've evolved. Let him come to you, the final test. This is the turning point. This is where you stop doing and start observing. You've given enough. You've reached out enough. You've tried enough. Now it's time for him to try. Will he show up with clarity? Will he speak with intention? Will he take action beyond just words? This isn't a test of whether he still likes you. This is a test of whether he's capable of being the kind of man you need. And if he doesn't come back, that's not your loss. That's your freedom. Because now, you're no longer investing in someone who only wanted the benefits of your presence without the responsibility of loving you, right? You didn't walk away to get him back. You walked away for you. Here's what matters most. You didn't walk away to make him chase you. You didn't go silent to hurt him. You disconnected because something inside you woke up. The version of you that begged, over-explained, over-functioned, she's gone. The version of you that waited for texts, read mixed signals, and gave infinite chances. She's no longer here. In her place stands a woman who chooses herself. She dresses for herself, laughs alone, goes to sleep in peace. She doesn't chase love, she attracts it by being whole. And now, if he wants her presence again, he'll have to come correct. The energetic shift is everything. You don't need to scream, block, or burn bridges. You don't need to create drama. Just shift your energy and watch what happens. Because men can feel it when a woman no longer revolves around them. They smell it. They sense it. They don't know why, but they start missing you. Not just because of who you were, but because of who you've become. The final word, you are the prize. Carl Jung once said, don't hold on to those who walk away from you, so that those who want to come close can. This journey, of silence, of boundaries, of walking away, was never about him. It was about you, about your transformation, about your return to self. So if he comes back, let it be because he recognizes your value, not because his ego was bruised. Let it be because he's ready to grow, not because he can't stand losing control. Because you're not here to beg for love. You're here to attract it from your wholeness. And now that you've chosen yourself, everything that enters your life must match that vibration. You are no longer chasing, you're receiving, and that is your true power. We have come to an end of this video. I want to thank you for staying throughout this journey. Please don't forget to share and subscribe to PsychLens for more videos like this. See you on the next on.